Hello, boys and girls. This is mini lesson part 2 for chapters 21, 22, and 23. Little side note, if you hear my dogs barking, it's because the landscapers are outside right now and they are going crazy, so I apologize in advance. Okay, so you have already listened to part 1 for our mini lesson and read our chapters today. So just as a reminder, our big question is, why do you think Crash compares his life to a football game? So it's first really important to think to myself, how do I know that he does this? How do I know Crash compares his life to a football game? So I pulled some examples from the text in chapter 23 to prove, yes, he does. So my first example is he actually says, life is like football. I run through people. And that is true. He runs through people on the football field, and he metaphorically runs through people in life, just like he does to Penn Webb, and just like we saw him do to Jane. And then he was giving himself courage to talk to Jane by reminding himself that he's a good football player. I'm a touchdown record holder. So he thinks that because he has a touchdown record, that he should be seen as better than other people. Again, he reminded himself to approach Jane just like he would a football game, and he did. He approached her aggressively, and that was maybe not the best approach to talk to anybody, right? Maybe not. As we can see, Jane was not pleased. And then he says to himself, Crash never gives up. Now, he never said, just like I don't give up in football, I don't give up in life, but I inferred as a reader that he was comparing his life to never giving up in football, because we know he doesn't give up in football. So I made that inference myself and said that was a comparison to his life in football, which you are allowed to do. You're always allowed to make inferences as a reader. It is an amazing thing to do, and it helps you see a text from a whole different lens. Okay, so this is the same organizer. Ooh, I just made myself bigger. Did not mean to do that. Okay, this is the same organizer that I showed you in the previous mini lesson. And by now, your task was to fill out at least 3 or 4 of these bubbles after and while you were reading, to think to yourself, why does Crash compare his life to a football game or being on the field? And again, I love using this thinking web, and you will see why, because I really connect my thoughts to one another in a logical sequence, and you will see this one is an outlier. It's not supposed to, it was not supposed to be right in the center, but you will see what I'm talking about. So I thought of some answers or just my thoughts to this question as I was reading, and I filled out this web. So my very first thought is football is the only thing that he feels confident with. And he tries to translate that to his life. Well, if I feel confident with football, I can just pretend I'm at football right now, just like he did at the dance with Jane, and maybe I'll feel confident then, which tells me maybe he's an insecure person. So I connected my two thoughts here. And then after I was thinking maybe he's an insecure person, I thought maybe he wishes he was as good in all other areas of his life as he is with football. And then I connected this thought to my next one and says, he feels like the boss and he feels in control on the field. And maybe he wants that to translate to the rest of his life. He wants to be the boss in school. He wants to be in control in school. So he just pretends, I'm at football. I'm going to compare everything I do to football. And then I kind of skipped from here to here. Crash feels confident, rough, and assertive on the field. And he feels, hey, if I can apply those characteristics to my life on the field, then maybe I can apply them to my life too. And then finally, I said, maybe it's the only thing he knows. Maybe football is just one of those things for him that he just feels it's his only area of his life he's good at. And maybe he just thinks he has to take that mentality to the rest of his life. And then maybe he'll be as good at life as he is at football. So this is my thinking web. Yours should look completely different, and there really is not a right or wrong answer. If you thought deeply about your text, you made some connections, you inferred a few things, then you did a wonderful job. So what I want you to do right now is you're going to apply what we just did in this mini lesson. Oh, I almost forgot something. Silly me. So what I want you to think about right now is Crash's constant comparison of his life to a football game a good thing or a bad thing? I want you to think about that. You can pause me and jot some things down. Okay, you should have paused me and jotted an answer or two down. I'm going to share my thoughts on this. I think that it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Like I said, I sometimes compare my life to soccer. However, he takes that aggressive and rough nature that he has on the field and the fact that he applies that to his life, that I don't think is a good thing. For example, he literally said to himself, approach Jane like you would a football game. And he did. And he was rough with her, he was aggressive with her. And I don't think that's good. So the actual thought of applying a lens you do know, like football, to your life, I don't think is a bad thing. But the way he is doing it, I do think is a problem. I wonder if you had similar thoughts as I did. So now it's time to show what you know, and you are going to click on today's reading activity right here. And I will see you for our next reading lesson. Have a wonderful day.